What's up guys, Specstar here to have my co-host Shadow the Chihuahua to commentate my first playoff game of MLBA. It's the quarterfinals, and as the top seed at 10-2, we're taking on the 6-6 Killer and his Orlando Solar Beams. And he's got himself a trending Magearna Charizard X team, which is also featuring the likes of Mew, Dugtrio, Quillfish, and the ever so terrible Swadloon. I'm gonna get some hate mail for that, but that's fine. So I'm gonna switch over here to my team, and starting off, I've got a Mega Venusaur here. Mega Venusaur is a Pokemon his team had a very hard time dealing with. His only real Venusaur option, if I have my mic up here, I should be holding it for this. His only real answer to Mega Venusaur is his Mew, and with Toxic, I can get that thing worn down, especially if it is a hard switch response to Venusaur. Leech Seed also makes the thing more easy to deal with. Chips away at it, make sure I keep the thing low, which is important for me. Giga Drain was just the best one move I could have, in my opinion. I also considered Sludge Bomb. I thought Giga Drain was a better option. It dealt with his team equally as well and also gave me longevity, which was important to me. Next up here, I've got Reshiram, and I'm Choice Scarfed. And I got Draco Meteor, Blue Flare, and those are really the only two moves I needed. I didn't really need much else there. Focus Splash just kind of helps me with Umbreon if he did bring it, which he didn't. And Dragon Pulse is just if I want something accurate to click, because you know how Pokemon is. If you're watching this video, you know how Pokemon is with that. Modest Scarf, enough speed just to outpace anything non-scarfed on his team, which is really what I needed for this matchup, mostly. Next up here, I've got Darkrai, and I am Choice Scarf, Darkrai, Dual Scarf, which is just good for this matchup. It's nice to be able to keep the speed up on him. Basically, my old favorite Modest Scarf, Darkrai, sticking to the Dark Pulse spam. Focus Blast kind of hits Magearna, kind of hits Umbreon. Trick covers either of those two if they're a bulky, but mostly just Umbreon, really. If he wants to keep bringing in Umbreon and Darkrai, I want to be able to trick the thing, but Umbreon didn't come. I've got enough speed to outpace a Charizard X, and Spatial Ren helps me hit one of those after it's Dragon Danced. Just a backup plan for that thing if it does wind up getting out of hand, which I intend to not let it do. And next up here, I've got my Metagross, which is Steelium Z and a Wincon in this game. If I weaken his team after Rock Polish, this Metagross is very, very difficult for him to deal with. Meteor Mash and Earthquake pretty much cover everything on his team if Charizard Mega evolves already. And as it's a late game mon, I expect if Zard is around when Metagross comes in, it would already be Mega'd. Next up here, I've got my favorite physical defense Piloswine set, which you see all the time here. Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Ice Shard, Toxic, all my favorites. And lastly, I've got the Golbat, which is Brave Bird, Taunt, Roost, Defog. Nice to be able to keep hazards off against a Webs team. Taunt helps me deal with Umbreon. I put speed on this thing for Breloom, so the thing couldn't just spore me. Make sure Breloom was completely shut down by this Pokemon if he did opt to bring it, which I didn't really think he would, but I didn't want to be under prep for it if he did. And Lord knows Venusaur is already my answer to enough Pokemon. Taunt, mostly for Umbreon, things like that. The bulk on his team, just like to be able to keep that worn down, not recovering. And that's going to be my team there. Let's switch back to the battle. So, let's hit play here. I'm going to lead off with my Reshiram as he leads off with Quillfish. Reshiram just basically covers anything. If he does lead Dugtrio, Earthquake doesn't KO me, and he will die to two of my attacks if he's Sash, and if he's Scarfed, he just gets KO'd by Draco. So, there isn't really anything that makes me regret leading Reshiram too much on his team. He leads Quillfish, and Depending on its set, it may or may not be able to take Draco Meteor. I'm content to click Draco either way, because if he does survive it, I can just go into Golbat, which is most likely faster than this Quillfish, and I'm able to defog away his hazards. So I'm just going to go ahead and go right for a Draco, and we are going to see something I have preached for a long time. Quillfish is an Unmon. This is a Pokemon that should not be drafted. It does not belong with the big boys. Quillfish is terrible, and it just gets dropped. So he's going to bring his Mew. I'm going to bring in my Piloswine, which is just a conservative response to feel this thing out. He goes for Nasty Plot. I just want to click Toxic to get the thing wearing down. Except he's Lumberry, so I've activated his trap card and I am Toxic myself. I'm again safely going to click Toxic. I just want to make sure this thing gets worn down and it's not rock polishing up. He goes for another Nasty Plot here. I'm going to Toxic him. And here I'm just going to click Rocks if he does opt to let Piloswine survive, which I didn't expect. He's going to take Piloswine down. At this point, I know there's a very decent chance that he is Vacuum Wave, but I also know that Darkrai takes one, and I calculated that right before I brought my Darkrai out here. So I will bring in my Darkrai to respond to this thing. If Mew goes down, I don't see how he's beating Venusaur, so I'm very willing to trade a lot of Darkrai's health to take this thing out here. And he does go for the Vacuum Wave, does a ton, but not enough, so Darkrai is able to KO the thing and take it right out. It's now a 5-4 game at this point. He's going to bring in his Magearna. My best response to that is always my Mega Venusaur. I'm going to hope he doesn't go right for the Ice Beam as I bring in my Venusaur. Now I've got the thick fat and nothing on Magearna could worry me. I'm just going to Leech Seed the thing. I'm going to miss, which isn't the end of the world. I'm now going to go for Toxic, thinking he'd want to switch out. Interestingly, he didn't, so now I just decided to click Leech Seed as he does Volt out. He's going to go out and do his Dugtrio, and I am now trapped here. I'm just going to click Synthesis and kind of see what he's trying to do here. He goes for Final Gambit, but we've got enough health to hang on, and we are able to synthesize back up. Venusaur's going to be at 58%, which isn't great, but it's still enough for what he has left. He's going to bring in a Swadloon. I just want to Toxic it right off the bat before any shenanigans taken. Now I just want to get Venusaur back up to full health as he Calm Minds. He can pass that, but he needs a lot to really do much damage with the Magearna set he has. So he's going to bring in Magearna. With now boosted, I'm going to Leech Seed it, and I'm just able to Synthesis up on that. And we're going to see a lot of this Venusaur being stally. Synthesis, he gets the screens, he'll Volt Switch on a Swadloon. Here I bring in Golbat just to try to put a little bit of pressure on, because it's getting a little too stally for my taste. Here he goes for Magic Code and bounce back my Taunt, which is a nice little play for him there. I still have the Brave Bird here. But I actually go back into Venusaur. I didn't want to get Golbat too weakened, and I didn't want to give Zard a free in on Golbat. Zard could have potentially set up some sort of Drum and then Flame Charge on Golbat, and I didn't really want to play that game. I wanted to have Venusaur out, which could Toxic the Charizard. And Magearna is going to keep throwing off Flash Cannons, and Venusaur is going to continue just eating them. Magearna is getting very slowly but surely worn down, which is important. Brings in the Swadloon as I click my Synthesis. Venusaur's back to full. Golbat's going to come in again. It's going to Taunt as Magearna comes in. Venusaur. And then here I'm going to bring in Reshiram just to mercifully try to put this game out of its misery. Reshiram will be able to most likely take something out as I locked in a Dragon Pulse, because if I locked in a Blue Flare, Charizard could set up. And if I locked into Dragon Pulse, I had no fear of Magearna. I'm just going to click Dragon Pulse again, because me clicking Dragon Pulse means that even if he doesn't make it, Charizard doesn't get a setup twice, which is what I have to ensure. But he will make it, and I'll take it out. And now it's down to Magearna versus the world. And I'm going to bring in Metagross just to end this thing in style. He'll Volt, and I get to go for my Steelium Z, my Corkscrew Crash, and take the thing out. And we are going to move on to the semifinals. And our opponent is not sure yet at this point. Just depends on how the other matches go, of course. If Lucy loses, or if Lucy wins and Evan loses, I'll face Lucy. And the rest just depends on who wins, who loses. So we'll see what happens there. And that's going to be it for this battle. GG to my man Killer. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a good night.